it back.
What is that noise?
Somebody's phone.
Okay.
Don't you just hate that?
I want to call the Hopkinton Town Council meeting of December 15th, 2014 to order with a moment of silent meditation and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First on our agenda tonight is an introduction to for the Deputy Finance Clerk, Liz Monti. I'll hand it over to Bill McGarry.
Thank you. I have the honor tonight of introducing our new Deputy Finance Clerk. Her name is Liz Monti from Westerly. She's our new Agnes. Agnes is in the audience, and we'd like to thank her for her years and years of dedicated service. She's very dependable and certainly big shoes to fill, but we're confident that Liz will be up to the task. When we advertised the position, we received 25 applications, and we interviewed 9 people, and Liz came out first. So we offered her the position, and she accepted it and started December 8th, last Monday. And she's been working with Agnes for 2 weeks, part-time. Agnes has been coming in the morning, kind of as a transition to bring her up to speed. And next Monday, we turn her loose on her own, and we'll see what happens. But she finished first, as I said, in the selection process. She's a Westerly High School graduate. She also graduated from the University of Rhode Island with a Bachelor's in Business Administration. Her major was in Management and Accounting. She also has numerous graduate-level courses in accounting at the University of Rhode Island. She's a licensed realtor. She's a licensed appraisal trainee. And she has 17 years of accounting experience in both the public and the private sector. She also has 10 years of real estate experience, including accounting, budgeting, brokerage management, and appraisal work. And she currently works part-time as needed as a tax collector for the Richmond, Carolina Fire Department. She was formerly a controller for a big law firm in Providence. That was her last employment. She's a past brokerage and finance manager, and she worked as a staff accountant for CPA firms in Rhode Island for several years prior to that. So we consider ourselves very fortunate to have her aboard. She's going to be working for Finance Director Brian Rosso. And if you'd like to say a few words, you step right up to the mic.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very grateful to Agnes for helping me learn the ropes this last week and this coming week. And I'm very much looking forward to helping to assist in the financial management of the town of Hopkinton. And I look forward to working with all of you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Any questions for Liz, folks?
I have a question. Agnes, was your hair a little darker when you started? So you got a long way to go. Right? Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. Okay. Next on our agenda is appointments. Appointment of town solicitor. Who is that?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Bengtson and Justing as the town solicitor.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion, folks? All those,
I appreciate the fact that they've kept the amount that we pay level funded. I don't know if this is the 3rd or 4th year that, I'm not sure how many years. Third, it's been years that you kept it.
Back when I was...
You kept it at one level, and we appreciate that.
okay, any other discussion, folks? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I'd like
thank
to
you.
make a motion to appoint Margaret Steele as the probate judge.
No,
Nope.
it's not Margaret. So,
Linda Urso.
Oh, Linda Urso, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you
Linda
surprised me there.
I know, I would guess so.
I was like,
because
oh.
we have the other judge, the municipal judge, to appoint too.
No, you don't.
Off
yeah.
years? Oh,
Yeah, she's off, yes.
I'm sorry. Motion to appoint probate judge Linda Urso.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion, folks?
And that's another gal who's never asked for more, but always does her job and does it pleasantly.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda, folks, is the consent agenda. Approve executive session minutes of November 3rd, 2014. Accept the following report. Town Clerk, approve abatements submitted by the Tax Assessor.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, first public forum. Anyone out there wishing to be heard? Pastor Dave, come to the podium, please.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm Dave Stahl. I serve as pastor of the First Seventh-day Baptist Church of Hopkinton, just down the road. I've been here for 4.5 years in the community. I've met some of you on the town board. Look forward to getting to know the rest of you. First, some of you were unofficially, perhaps, but involved one way or another with the holiday stroll in Ashaway. Great event that I love in Ashaway. The fireworks were awesome. Right across the street from our parsonage, so we have lots of friends and family over, and we enjoy the fireworks. Great community event, so thank you to those who, whether in an official or unofficial role, were involved in that. Also want to commend the Hopkinton Police Department. We've had some security issues at church, as well as minor things like annoying dog barking and that sort of thing. And we've called on the Hopkinton Police Department several times in the last year and a half. And every single one of them has been excellent, outstanding, extremely helpful, attentive, understanding, giving the right amount of attention to the job. So I just met, I believe, the man that's responsible for training and running that organization, and he is to be commended from my perspective for doing a great job. With all that said, the barking dogs that you heard as you called your meeting to order was not a ring on my phone. That was a brief clip of a video from today that I was playing for the chief. I have a neighbor, 175 Main Street in Ashaway, with 3 barking dogs. The dogs bark about 12 feet from the back door of my house, starting sometimes at 5 in the morning and sometimes till 12 or 1 in the morning. 2 beagle mixes and some little small white fuzzy thing. The 3 dogs bark constantly and relentlessly. We're going on 5 years now of that. So I have gone through all of the channels that I know how to go through. I first tried the interpersonal communication, the talks in the backyard over the fence, the phone calls to the neighbor, all of the neighborly approaches. Unfortunately, those did not work. So being hopefully, I think, a patient and gracious man, I've gone through a very slow process of moving my way from that toward calling the animal control officer and finding out what the codes are, what the laws are, what the rules are, and what could be done. After about another year, I finally started doing what the animal control officer asked, and that was to call the Hopkinton police if it was nighttime or after hours and the dogs were barking. As mentioned, every time I called, they would come right out. They would observe the dogs barking. I was told that they needed to do this 3 times and make an official report of the noise of the dogs barking. And after a 3rd time, that the neighbors would be cited or dealt with or fined or something would happen, some sort of action. At least one of those times, a Hopkinton police officer went over and knocked on the neighbor's door and spoke to them and talked to them and let them know that this process was going on and that that was a problem. So I continued to check with the animal control officer, and there were no results. There was no action taken of any kind. So that's been roughly a year, almost a year, I think, since the last conversation with the animal control officer. When I did call the animal control officer and I said it's been 3 times now that the police department has documented, I'm very apologetic to the police department for having to even do that. It seems to me sort of a waste of their time, these officers, but they were all very understanding and very good about it. So I told the animal control officer that was 3 times, and that was the process she had given me. So what would be the action taken? And she said, well, they have dogs and they bark sometimes. It happens. That's what they're dogs. And that was the end of the conversation. And I said, well, you told me to have the officers observe. They did, and they filed reports. What would we do? And she said, how do I know that the officers pulling in your driveway isn't what made the dogs bark? So that was her question to me. And I said, this is the process you gave me when the dogs are barking. And by the way, I would call and the dispatcher at the Hopkinton Police office knew who was calling by the dogs barking in the background. I would call from my back door. I'd say, "Hello, it's Dave Stahl." He'd say, "Yes, I hear, Pastor, what's going on?" And of course, he'd send someone right out. So we went through that process and no action was taken. So I'm not sure where else to go. So I wanted to come here publicly and bring that to the attention. It's my understanding there is an animal control officer. There are rules.
Yep.
She gave me a process, and then there was no result. So that to me doesn't seem like an acceptable solution or an acceptable outcome. So I'm bringing it publicly to all your attention. I commend the police department and the chief for their great work. The missing link here seems to be with the animal control officer and the follow-up.
What's the next action?
So, yeah, we'll, yeah, thanks, Pastor Dave. So noted, and it will be taken care of. Chief Palmer, you want to come up and say a few words?
Thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Pastor.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Chief, have they been cited?
I'm sorry?
Have they been cited?
I'm not sure. This is the first time hearing about it.
Okay.
Thank you, Reverend, for your kind words. And all I can say is this will be addressed and it won't be back in front of you. There is a process. We've been through this before. And when a complainant goes through the process, then we cite. And we'll take care of it. We've had similar type incidents, and we have one that it was going to be never ending, and we have not had a call in 2 years now.
Right.
So we'll do our job. Basically,
I don't doubt
he'll have a voice with me. So
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate your attention to the matter.
Oh, and your church is just beautiful. I love the dedication. I am glad. I hope no one is injuring the inside of your church.
No, it's kept safe.
It was just beautiful. You did just a superb job. I was so proud of you. It was just stunning. And a lovely, lovely service.
Mr. Hurst.
Yes. Scott Bill Hurst, 20 Maple Court, Ashway. Mr. President, honorable members of the Town Council, I've got three things. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Patricia Buckley Esquire and her law firm for being retained as Hopkinton solicitors. And number two, I have two things that are on the agenda, and I was wondering if I could address them now so I can leave. One is RhodeMap, and the other one is the tax abatement for Greene Plastics. Or do you want me to wait until they come on the agenda?
Yeah, why don't you wait, Scott, if you could, please?
Am I going to be able to talk about the RhodeMap Rhode Island?
At the second public forum.
When it comes up on the agenda?
It's a
Oh.
president's report.
Because
Well, it's
usually,
under my report, so the reason I put that, I don't want to solicit a lot of activity on that. Obviously, we know what took place, so,
I'd like to address it because I was there.
no, right.
Can I speak now to that?
Yeah, go ahead, quick.
And can I, you don't want me to speak to the Greene Plastics thing?
No.
Okay, the RhodeMap Rhode Island, I was there, I did speak against it, and the governor spoke, and, I spoke to him briefly. Senator-elect Elaine Morgan, I went up with her, and there was other people from Hopkinton there. As you probably know from my email to the council, one of the things that I think is really notable about that evening, that day, the town of Hopkinton pays membership fees to the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns. I sat there while the executive director, Daniel Beardsley, voted in favor of the plan, and I made a note, the designee of the president of the league was there, and the local representative of see, I got the titles. Oh, here it is here, I believe. Daniel Beardsley, executive director of the league, voted in favor. Gene Boyle, designee of the president of Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, and L. Vincent Murray, local government representative of the league. And as far as I know, and I've served on the council until last month, I don't recall the league ever contacting the town of Hopkinton or any member town for their input on that issue. And what I would hope the council would do, I'm not asking you to withdraw from the league, but I think that you shouldn't let something like that slide. I think there should be some type of letter, maybe with other cities and towns of Rhode Island. If you're going to have a group and you're going to pay dues, they should be out to protect the town of Hopkinton and every member that pays dues to that organization. and that's not unreasonable. I just found it incredible. I sat there, and they voted 24-0. Most of them didn't say anything. I believe Gene Boyle, the designee of the local president of the league, seconded the motion, as I remember right. But I sat there, and they said about, you know, they had all these meetings. Well, I'll tell you, I sat on the town council for 4 years, and I don't think I was asleep, but that thing was passed, and it seems that so many people didn't know what was going on, and I think something that momentous people should have been better informed on. And in addition, when this town and numerous other towns, or virtually all the towns in Rhode Island, belong to the League of Rhode Island Cities and Towns, I would hope that they would have kept their members' communities in the loop as far as something this important. So I respectfully ask the council at least send a letter to them about this, and
Okay.
that's about it. And I'll wait till the Greene Plastics thing comes up. Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr.
Scott.
President.
Okay. Next, under my report is a nice segue, RhodeMapRI. You know, I was extremely disappointed in the vote that went in favor of RhodeMapRI. I thought it was a less than transparent process. I don't think that the 39 cities and towns were involved to the degree that they should have been, and I was very disappointed. And we'll just have to see what it all boils down to, I guess, as far as our town and city, what happens. But I was just very disappointed, and I'll go down kicking and screaming on that one. So, Tom?
Scott brought up something that goes along with this. The League of City and Towns. Back, a few years back, we got off of the...
Washington County.
Yeah, are we...
Regional.
We're members of the league, yeah.
Yeah,
every
we're
year.
members of the league.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay, who is our representative to that?
We all are.
We
There's
all-
no liaison, if that's what you mean.
What was the one that Scott used to be?
Washington
Oh, that was
County Regional
Washington County,
Planning.
yeah.
Regional Planning.
Regional planning.
That was $3,000 a year. We're no longer a member.
We're not a member of that.
Right,
This is separate.
that's different.
The issue of the League of Cities and Towns, though, is a very interesting one, because I don't know that there was a city or town that was in favor of this thing.
That's
It
Not
seemed
from what
like-
I read.
It seemed like pretty much everybody was against it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do belong to this organization, and you should feel like you can try and hold them accountable.
Usually,
And one of the things that's gonna be happening is, or may or may not be happening, is that in order for any of these policies that were voted on to be put into place, the legislature's gonna have to pass laws. And one of the things that we wanna be vigilant about, it would seem to me, is when these laws come up in the General Assembly, and you guys can't know about that. We have to rely on the League of Cities and Towns to make sure you know about that. And you might give some thought to sending something off to Dan Beardsley,
Oh,
the
yeah.
League of Cities and Towns, to make sure he understands that this is an important issue to this town, and that as these issues come up before the General Assembly, you want to know about them, you know? So that's a very interesting aspect of this, the League of Cities and
Yeah,
Towns.
yeah. Frank, if, with the council's permission, I'd like to be able to give Dan a call and chat with him. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a couple of years.
I would like him here. I think.
No, yeah, Tom, if you
ask
want,
him-
hold on, Barbara. Yeah,
Well,
if
I've
you
delved
wanna-
into this roadmap Rhode Island, and I'm appalled at some of the stuff I've seen and read, and it's just amazed that the way, it happened the way it did.
I think, you know, Bill certainly has been in touch with Dan over the years, and I know he knows him pretty well. I mean, I imagine Bill could
If I can just get
probably...
a phone number or something from, yeah.
Yeah, but I would like to have him down here so we can.
And we can
just-
still
talk-
have him down here.
Yeah, so that we can talk to him in public.
Well,
no, I think Scott's right, that
Yeah.
letter needs to go out. They need
Yes,
to make it clear
definitely.
to them. We haven't taken a stand on it, I know how I feel about it, but
Same here now.
all we've done so far is say that we want it postponed and we didn't want the vote.
we took a
haven't-
stand, we made a resolution.
Right, right, and it didn't say
And it
we
was
were
unanimous.
opposed to it, just said we want you to wait, we want to read it, we want to look it over. So at some point, you know, I don't know, we may, you know, choose to take a stand. However, in the meantime, I think a letter needs to go to them and remind the league. We are members. And we never heard about this, and we're disappointed, and we want to make sure that we are on top of every further development in reference to this, and that they should be involved, and every city and town should know about it. I mean, there should be a letter that's drawn up.
I think that would be true, but I would really like to have him down here so that we can, in person, say how disappointed and concerned we are about their position without any input from the town. I think that's my concern is that they were dealing with this, it never came to us, we had no knowledge of it until it was going to be voted on, and it does affect us quite powerfully. For them not to have anything to do with us is very poor planning on their part, to be the nicest.
It's less than transparent.
Less than transparent, way less than transparent.
So, Tom, you planning to call him?
I would like to,
Can we,
Well,
Frank, can we?
Actually, if you want, I'd like to entertain a motion, if someone could make that, and so we can send a letter as well.
okay.
So would someone carry that?
Yep, I'd like to make a motion that we send the League of Cities and Towns
Dan Beardsley.
address to Dan Beardsley concerning our
Dissatisfaction.
dissatisfaction of how they voted for the Rhode Island without informing us.
Town input, right?
Yeah, I'd like to also say that at his convenience, I'd like to have him come down here.
Okay.
And maybe face to face so we can answer some of our questions as to what happened.
And I think in that letter, it's always important, they have always been responsive. Every time, whether there were bills or whatever, they'd send their emails out, we'd let them know what we're for or against, and it was always a cooperative event or reaction statewide through the league, and there was nothing on this. And I think that letter needs to point out that we heard nothing from you on this, and that is not the way you've done business with us in the past. You've always informed us, and we worked for you, and you didn't, and we don't know why you didn't do it this time. So
And especially because I am not necessarily against some of the economic choices they were making, but very much against some of the other. So I don't know whether he was voting just on an economic issue and he was totally ignoring the housing and the social issues. He really needs to come to us and explain why they chose to vote for it.
Well, I think in the letter, we'll ask him to try and make connections with Bill, to try and get down here so we can talk to him about it as well at a meeting. So we can make that a part of the letter. So we've got a motion on the floor for the letter. I need a second, please.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion, folks? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So, that's that. Next, on our agenda is the town manager report. Bill McGarry.
Thank you. On December 10th, I attended a meeting at the Police Department Conference Room, along with other state and town officials, to discuss the upcoming Town of Hopkinton vaccination clinic that's scheduled to be held on Saturday, December 20th, that's this Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Ashway Elementary School, 12 Hillside Avenue. Influenza and Tdap vaccinations, that's whooping cough, will be available free of charge at that time. Notice of the clinic was posted on the town's website, advertised in the Westerly Sun, and the subject of a code red notification call. And this clinic was organized through the efforts of Hopkinton EMA Director Ron McDonald. And that's this Saturday, December 20th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and the inoculations are free.
You're going to do the resignations, Bill? They're on the agenda? The agenda has resignations. Are you going to address that?
Well, I could.
Well, yeah, I just thought since it's on the agenda,
Good advertising.
yeah. It's good advertising.
Thank you, Bill. Are you done?
Oh, he's
I'm
not
sorry.
quite done.
I'm
That's
sorry.
all right.
I'm sorry.
December 8th, I accepted the resignation of our IT Director, Matt Damaris, who's going to be leaving to pursue other employment and educational opportunities. And the very next day, December 9th, I accepted the resignation of Lynn Hall, my secretary. She was offered a full-time employment opportunity at Lifespan, where she worked for 13 years. And in her new role, she will serve as the Senior Marketing Officer for Rhode Island Hospital in Providence. So it's kind of an opportunity that is too good to pass up, you know. So we're in the process. We have posted both of them internally. pursuant to the contractual agreements, the two agreements. And then we also had an advertisement in last Sunday's Wesley Sun for the IT slot. So we're moving forward to try to fill those as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Bill.
Any question?
Yes.
Bill, the IT spot, does that require a degree of any sort?
I believe it requires a bachelor's degree in computer science or engineering or some other related science. Yes.
Okay.
Bill, Lynn Hall just came on board last spring, didn't she?
June 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
It's a big loss. She was excellent.
It's just too good.
Right.
The,
Yes, Tom.
on the IT, does Richmond have a full-time IT person?
No.
Because we had, back years ago, we had talked about splitting an IT person. I mean, do we need,
And
Was
you
Hopkinton-
remember why we didn't, though? The reason we didn't was we had too much work.
okay.
That was
all
why
right.
we didn't.
Right,
But it's
exactly.
something that we could bring up at budget time again to discuss with Bill, but that was why we didn't, yeah.
Well, we'll have the spot filled by
Sylvia,
then, I hope.
Was that too much work at that time? Do we still have that amount of work, or was it just?
That's something we'd have to talk to Bill about.
Was it just something?
Oh, I have no doubt that if he knew that there was a way
Yeah.
to make changes, we'd be
Yeah.
hearing about it.
Right.
It's really a full-time slot for the town of Hopkinton, yeah.
I would agree with that.
Too many
too.
things that break.
Yeah, and also we need to add public Wi-Fi. We need to add things for the 21st century in the best way we can without, I'm not particularly fond of social media, but there must be other things that we can do to make people's lives easier using those smartphones,
Okay.
especially to pay bills.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Next, under new business, folks, is to consider and vote upon a request by Richard Land, the receiver for Greene Plastics, for forgiveness of back real estate taxes, including interest and penalties owed on the parcels designated as 103, 105 Canonchet Road for the period prior to February 15th, 2013 only. Pat, did you have a segue to this?
I do. I'm just
Okay.
going to give you a little summary for, the council's pretty well familiar with it, but let's just give everybody else a little summary of it. This is before you at the request of the receiver for Greene Plastics, Richard Land. He's been the steward of this property since Greene Plastics went into receivership. And one of the things he did is sell the assets of the company to a company called Buick LLC. The gentleman is Stephen L. Graham. The assets did not include the properties. There are 3 parcels, 103 and 105 Canonchet, and then 106, which is the newer parcel across the street. What this is all about is the person who's been leasing those properties from the receiver, he didn't purchase them, but he's been leasing them, wanted to purchase 106, the newer parcel, and has, as I understand, done that. Lisa, do you know if, was a deed recorded last week about that? I did not know. Okay. They were supposed to close last week, I'm assuming that they did, on 106. The receiver had been marketing 103 to 105 and 106 for a couple of years now to try and get someone to purchase them. No one would purchase 103 to 105 because there is some concern about the potential for contamination on the property. There's been no study of it, there's no proof that anything's on it, but because it's been a functioning mill since the 1700s, there's some concern about what might be in the property, and nobody wants to touch it because of that. So what he ultimately was able to do with Mr. Graham and Buick LLC is convince them to buy 106, which I believe that has already been accomplished, and they're going to continue to lease 103 and 105 across the street from the receivership for a very nominal amount. It's about like $1 a year. In order to make that deal fly, Mr. Land needed the town to forgive the past tax indebtedness on 103 and 105. 106 is current, up to date, and Buick LLC through Mr. Graham has been paying all of the taxes on all 3 of the properties since February of 2013 when he started leasing the land. So he's absolutely current as of now. The only question is the taxes on 103 to 105 prior to February 15th of 2013. We had Rita put together a report on what those taxes were, and they total about a little under $34,000 for the real estate taxes on those parcels. Without the interest factor involved, it's about $26,000. So in terms of real money to the town, it's really about $26,000. The council met with Mr. Land last council meeting, to find out what it is they were looking for and what would make this fly. And Franklin Dolphy suggested that maybe if we could forgive the taxes over a period of time, like 3 years, that the council might be interested in doing that. And that being that Buick would have to be at the property and functioning for a 3-year time period with a third of the taxes forgiven in each of those years, so that at the end of the 3 years, all would be forgiven, but we would know for a fact at least that the company would be there for 3 years. Mr. Land left last council meeting to inquire about whether or not his buyer would agree to that. And the word that came back this week was, yeah, yes, in fact, that would be fine. So the council's idea about abating over 3 years, or forgiving really over 3 years, will work. And Mr. Land sent an email requesting that you consider it tonight, consider that issue tonight, which is the forgiveness of the taxes for those 3 parcels over a 3-year period with a third forgiven in each of the 3 years, assuming that the business remains in operation for those 3 years. Does that help?
Yeah, that pretty much sums
Pretty
it up.
nailed it right on the head.
Yeah, at least from my perspective, and I don't want to speak for the whole council, but I think that I do share what everyone's thought process was on this. It was really just a balance between, you know, how do we protect the town, the taxpayers, and abate this money, keep the manufacturing facility in town and the there's 38 or so
38
jobs there,
jobs.
of which 9 are Hopkinton residents. And how do you try and balance that risk? And I think, you know, over the 3-year period to keep the machinery and functional for the 3 years worked out well. And Mr. Land, fortunately, worked out with Mr. Graham to have that happen. So I'm excited to keep that facility here in town. I think it means a lot to the 9 people that do live in our town. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that we all made a difference in some small way to keep these jobs here and this facility operational. So, Tom, do you have any comments or questions? Sylvia?
For anybody who's interested, I want them to, anyone listening to know that the town doing something like this is not the first time that the town has worked with a business or a neighborhood. Problems come up, whether they're caused by a town, past decisions, or they're caused by a business or one that's been there since the 1700s. We don't know, but we do know that this works, and if we do this, the problem obviously was if we didn't do anything, the concern was that the building would eventually just sit, and no one's going to buy it, and no one's going to rent it, and it's just going to sit, and with no activity, we don't know what's going to end up ultimately happening. And whether there are any problems in there. We'd rather have people working. Obviously, we want to protect the jobs. But across that street, to keep that place going, and there's the potential for expansion in that, more employees is what I mean. I don't mean physically the plant, but you never know. If this works, maybe they'll hire back some more people. But so it's a good thing to do. But the town has done unusual things in the past and to work things out. I'll give you an example. There was a business that for years, because this is the way things were done a long time ago. When you built your business, there was no zoning, there was no building and zoning, and I mean, you didn't have to put in a septic, and a pipe just went into the river, and it was a restaurant, and that's just life. That's the way it was, and nobody in the state, no one was going to close them down. They were done. They predated zoning. So what happens is you know, if you're lucky enough, you work with the business, and we did back in the 90s, and they were able to put in their septic, and there's nothing going in the river anymore, and people are happy. So you never know what arrangement how you might come up with it, whether it's paid for with a grant. South Drive is another example. Something went wrong down there. You look at that neighborhood and you say, well, we really need to do something, and the manager was able to get a grant. So it wasn't as if it even came out of our, but it came out of our budget, but we still have employees who are going to do some work down there, and so that's something the town does. And so you never know where we're going to do unusual things, but I just want to make sure people understand that this isn't, that may be different, but in the past, the town has worked to better our own town, and that's what we should be doing. So.
Okay, thanks, Sylvia. Barbara?
I think the forgiveness of the back real estate taxes on the parcels is going to save a business because it could have left, and it'll save the 38 jobs. 29 may be out of town, but maybe they'll move in, and 9 of them are in town. I am mostly concerned about the employees and then a business staying in town and not leaving, because that would leave those 3 parcels dead in the water again. So I am all for this. I think that it's the best that we can do at this point, and let's hope that business grows, it changes, it becomes better, and hopefully they'll hire more people. But I think that way businesses we keep them alive, we keep them well, and we keep our employees, and especially our town citizens who are employed. It gives them another location. I think it's fine.
Thanks, Barbara. David?
Yeah, I think there's no difference between this and giving a new business that moves into town a tax break, and we do that constantly. That's number one. And number two is that these taxes were accrued when that business wasn't there. It's not his fault. He's not asking for taxes that he should have paid and he didn't pay. That this is something that goes back before his time. So in both cases, for both reasons, I think it's a fine idea, and I hope for the best for the company up there.
Yeah, and I think they're definitely making money. I know somebody that's been there 27 years, and they're now thinking about bringing some health insurance to the employees, so that really means a lot, I think, to the folks that are there. And, altogether on these 3 parcels, I think in 1 year's time, it's $37,000 that the town would lose if, in fact, the company decided to not stay. So in 1 year, we'll make back this money that we're abating. So I think it's a win-win. So anyway, I need a motion, please.
Motion to forgive the back real estate taxes, including interest and penalties, owed on the parcels designated as 103, 105 Canonchet Road for the period prior to February 15th, 2013, for Richard Land, for Greene Plastics, to forgive over the course of 3 years.
You just need to add, assuming that, as long as the business remains.
As long as the business remains,
For those 3 years.
for those
Correct.
3 years.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, folks? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And what we're going to do is forgive 1/3 each of those 3 years. right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep. Next, under new see you, Pastor. Next, under new business is to review, approve Kenyon earth removal registration renewal application. Yes, everything seemed to be in order?
Yeah, so this is the 3rd time, it's the second renewal
Yeah.
beyond the initial application. Mr. Ward has one out, he's provided you with a report,
Yep.
and he also signed off on it, and it looks like nothing's changed, the operation is
Still as it was.
everything.
Move that we approve the application for renewal from Kenyon Earth Removal for the registration.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, folks?
I assume we haven't heard anything from anyone about a complaint? You haven't? That's fine.
Okay. Any other discussion, folks? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, under new business, is to schedule a hearing date for proposed ordinance amendments to Chapter 3, amusements, introduced by and sponsored by Councilor Husband. So, Lisa,
You
when
have,
can we?
there's an extra Monday in the month, so it has to be advertised 3 times. In order to do that, it would be your second town council meeting, which is going to be Tuesday the 20th. It's the earliest you could do it, unless you had a special meeting.
Need Monday the 20th?
I'm sorry, no, because
I want to look at the wrong.
Monday the 19th is Martin Luther King Day,
Oh,
so you have it on Tuesday the 20th.
Okay.
Okay, so January 20th?
Fine with me.
that works for me. Okay. That was easy. Last public forum. Anyone out there wishing to be heard? Mr. Hurst left us.
Well, Mr. Hurst, yeah.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. I want to make sure that,
In memory of Brian's mom,
yeah, I want to make sure that we,
Jeanette
Catherine.
Catherine Kennedy, so moved,
okay,
in her memory.
in her memory, please. Okay.
And for people who don't know who Jeanette Catherine Kennedy is, it's our Representative Brian Patrick Kennedy's mother.
And my friend Kevin Kennedy.
Yeah, and she just died this last week. We are very sorry for the family.
And Ron Kennedy's wife.
And
Ron
Ron
Kennedy
Kennedy's
was
wife.
zoning
Right.
chairman
Right.
for many,
Many,
many
many
Exactly.
years. Right.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.